Alright, all you midweek night drivers out there, welcome back to Under the Radar. And this week's Stunts of the Week goes to none other than Jenny home alone with her stunt Flying Spike, and of course to none other than Capper KKR with their said stunt, Jump the Police. And the reason why these two stunners got the stunt of the week for this week, well, because one almost killed themselves from doing a failed moonsault and landing on the side of her neck and almost becoming a quadriplegic only to stand up like nothing ever happened. And the reason the other stunt made it in, well, anybody who's able to jump that far a distance with the help of a third driver, what we figured out according to police, to help them jump over the police car and just drive off into the sunset with well over $5 million in diamonds, is definitely a winner in our book. And not to mention making a fool out of the Los Santos Police Department, nice touch, nice touch. And speaking of nice touches, folks, I think it's time for us to get ready to rev our engines and see which one of your crazy tracks is enough to bring some fun and delight to our midweek night for a very special midweek edition of the GTA Online Top 5 Tracks of the Week. And the first track that we have up comes from the creator Rosalink V29 with their said track, Mega Ramp Sky City WTF. And this track, if you can call it a track, but in my opinion thinks it's more or less a giant oversized water slide that has an eventual stop toward the bottom, automatically made it in just for the reason of what we just said. And the only tip of advice we have for you fans for this giant thrill ride leading to the tears of Los Santos is to make sure you use the T20 first before you use any other car for this said giant sky super ramp. Cause this track was tested with a T20, so to get your bearings, use that vehicle first before using any of the other crazy vehicles that are available for this said track, which is off-road, supers, and SUVs. Yeah, just a heads up for you fans out there. And besides that, good luck, and make sure you have bulletproof tires in case they turn this into a GTA Bloodfest sort of race. And the next track that we have up comes from the creator Koning_Willie_NL with their said track, F1 Budapest 2019. And this track, besides looking exactly like the cool Formula 1 Budapest track you would see on TV, also is another reason why in the world we decided to actually include it for this week, besides the fact that this person was able to do it off of Polito Cove near the Pacific Ocean for this said track. And the only tip of advice we have for you fans out there who wants to take on this classic in-game, real-life-like track is to watch out for the hairpin turns on the following checkpoints of 5, 4, 19, 18, 8, 9, and 11 before trying to take on your opponents. And while the maestro's over there laughing over in the corner due to the fact that it sounds like I gave out winning lottery numbers, the reason why we say this, folks, is those turns are hairpin turns, and one false move against your opponent can end you up in the water or losing this very race due to an overturn. So be careful on how you turn on those said checkpoints, and you should be just fine for this race. And the next track that we have up comes from the creator Bay Cruz, nice name by the way, with their track Chaparro Bridge. And this track, besides being an inspiration from the classic track of Whitey White's Sweaty Pants Grand Prix Long Endurance, yeah, the reason why we decided to pick it is because they were able to create their own makeshift bridge out of what was over the giant oversized Bay Cruz area, which is pretty cool. And the only bit of advice we have for you fans out there, just like the track before, is to watch out for the hairpin turns during this said track, including the checkpoints of 41 and 42, because if you don't, there's a high possibility it will cost you during this very race. And according to the maestro, we missed one, and make sure you watch out for number 50 as well. And also, as another bonus for this track, you get a chance to use every single vehicle across the board with the exception of utility and vans. And of course, bicycles as well, so enjoy! And the next track that we have up comes from the creator Vax4223 with their said track, Need for Speed 50 Kilometers. And for those who are wondering what that translates to in the metric system, about 32 miles of intense track racing that I advise a couple of you out there pick the best car you can for this said track before entering it. And why do I say that, folks? It's because you got a chance to race all throughout Route 68 for this said track, and including a couple of questionable spots in downtown Los Santos, including an area by the airport too, which is pretty impressive to see the fact that they were able to pull this off. And yeah, the only tip of advice we have for you race fans out there of not only to not give up during this race, but also, like we said before, pick the right car for this said race, because there are jumps that are included for this said track, and if you end up picking a motorcycle, even though if it does have a speed advantage, if you don't land the right way, you will fall off this bike and it will cost you during this race. But then again, if your opponent lands off their bike too, you can still get back into it. So always remember that and go for the gold. And the last but not least track that we have up for this week comes from the creator Andy4789 with their said track, Lawnmower Lulz Extreme. And this extreme crazy like track that involves extreme lawnmowers that may be on a segment of Out of This World has been brought to you by the crazy mind of Andy4789, which is very impressive, the fact that he's able to create this track using lawnmowers that can successfully make jumps, which is unheard of in my world. And the only tip of advice we have for you lawnmower racing fans out there is to watch out for certain areas that has no borders, because if you don't, there's a high possibility your opponent will try to knock you off that ramp, or you might use the boosters and boost your way right off the track if you don't have control over your said lawnmower. So watch out for that, and don't be like me and try to do a moonsault before jumping through one of those flaming hoops, because if you do, it will cost you during this race. Just an early warning for you stunners out there. And with that said, folks, wraps it up for another edition of the GTA Online Top 5 Tracks of the Week. And with that said, we might as well head back to this music one more time, and when we return, we'll be back with the final segment for Under the Radar for this week, right after this. So don't get lost in the madness just yet, folks, and stay tuned.